There's the biggest woodpecker I've ever seen. Let's see if we can find it. Where'd you go, dude? Oh, he's on the other side of the clouds. See him? A woodpecker might mean something. Let's see if he does something. What's up, dudes? Do you like my horns? What about that woodpecker? That's the biggest woodpecker I've ever seen. I just came in from taking a little chill and was listening to the Grateful Dead. And Spirit said, tell the story again. So I told this story. The title was called Baptized with Margaritas. Taurus, listen up. Baptized with margaritas. Forget me not at Soldier Field. I told this story 3 years ago. I have a deck of picture cards. This is my card for the Wheel of Fortune. The wheel is spinning. And I've been guided now by Spirit and the Woodpecker to tell how I got to hear the last Grateful Dead live show before Jerry died. So, what was the last Grateful Dead show? The last Grateful Dead show with Jerry Garcia was on July 9th, 1995. We're going on a time warp at Soldier Field in Chicago, Illinois. I was working at a Mexican restaurant called Chi-Chi's. So I'm just going to shuffle some cards and I'll show you the pictures while I talk. I had some cool coworkers that I worked with. There was one girl named Christy, and she was a hostess, I believe. And a dude named Lee, who was a busboy. They were a little bit younger than me, but everybody was super cool. I was a waitress, and I was helping this big round table full of younger businessmen. They were all in suits, and they were having kind of a celebration of something, it seemed like. And they weren't like that much older than me, but they were older than me. Professionals. And they all ordered jumbo margaritas, which were these huge margarita glasses, and I could fit 5 on a tray. And so I came back, and it was a 5 top. It was 5 men, and with my tray. And never, ever, ever take anything off a server's tray. Don't think you're helping them, because it's all balance. And this one man said, here, let me help you. And he took his off, and I dumped them all down the front of me. And all the dudes were mortified. They were mortified. They're like, why did you do that? And he's like, I was trying to help her. And I said, it's okay. I'll go get you some more drinks. I'm going to see if I can get another shirt. I had to wear a shirt with a parrot on the back of it. And it was a Mexican restaurant. I'll go get another shirt, and while your drinks are getting made, and everything's going to be just fine. And I came back with their drinks, and the manager gave me another shirt. I cleaned up in the bathroom a little bit. I was a little sticky, but no big deal. And each of those men, when I dropped off each of their margaritas, immediately gave me a $20 tip. So boom, right there, I already have a whole pocket full of money. What cool dudes. So I'm finishing up. They're eating now. I'm finishing out. And Christy comes up to me and she says, Molly, I talked to Lee. I also talked to the manager. He'll give all of us an early out because it's kind of slow. Do you want to go with me and Lee in your car to Chicago to go try to see the Grateful Dead? None of us have a ticket, but do you want to go on an adventure? We can leave right now, drive all the way through there, get at the parking lot, hang out in the parking lot and party, and hopefully we can find miracle tickets. And a miracle ticket at a Grateful Dead show was somebody had an extra ticket and they give it to you. And of course I was like, yes, I do. I have a whole pocket full of money for gas. I got baptized in margaritas. And so we were off on our adventure. We got an early out and we were driving from the Twin Cities to Chicago. We stopped at a rest stop and we were peeing, and then Lee went in the guy's bathroom and he came out and there was this truck driver that he kind of walked out with, and he said, hey, there's this semi-truck driver. He's like, he's going to Chicago. I've always wanted to ride in a semi-truck, and he said I can ride with him. I think I'm going to hitch a ride with him for a little bit, and then we'll meet up. He said there's a rest stop right before Chicago, and we'll meet up, and he'll drop me off, and I can hook back up with you guys. But I want to take a ride in a semi-truck. We were like, absolutely not. He's going to steal you. But he's like, no, I'm going to do it. So we were like, okay. We wrote down the semi's license plate number. And he got in the semi-truck, and we followed the semi-truck the whole time. And it turned out the semi-truck driver was a cool dude who was lonely, wanted some good conversation, and he did exactly what he told Lee he was going to do. As a mother now, I would have a heart attack if I thought my child was doing that. We were driving in my used 84 Toyota Corolla. So we pick up Lee at the rest stop right before. We get into Chicago. I saw the Married with Children fountain. That was pretty cool. We make our way to Soldier Field. And we park. And immediately, Lee was kind of a loner. Immediately he said, okay, I'm going to do my own thing here at this festival. And because the parking lot in a Grateful Dead show really is a festival. And a lot of tailgating, a lot of waiting, a lot of arts and crafts, hippie chicks selling grilled cheese. What the fuck? Only $1. All sorts of things. Yeah, really fun. Lots of people doing drugs. A good vibe. And so he's like, I'm out. I'll see you guys. I can't remember how we worked it out. We were like gonna sleep in the car and then leave the next day. And so we arrived in the morning. Lee split. He's all doing his thing. I was with Christy. We all got some acid. And then Christy said, well, no, this was before Lee left. Christy and Lee said, we're going to go look for a miracle ticket. And I said, I'm going to sit here in the car. I just like people watching. And so I sat on the back of my car, lounged out against the back window, just watching everybody. It was amazing. I loved it. There was music going on in the background, have a real good time. The vibe was really cool. I remember there was this like senior citizen man, and it was all set up in like a circle, and he was just like shuffling along, yelling out, "Acid! Acid! LSD!" And these hippie dudes would run up to him and say, "Yeah." And I kind of kept an eye on him. He had so many hippie dudes hooking him up. I'm like, how much acid is that old man on? It was insane. Then people were selling balloons full of nitrous, I'm assuming. So I was watching all that, and then the security came and shut down the balloon enterprise. It was really just kind of an... Ooh, this came out of nowhere. Cool vibe where everybody was happy. Nothing was weird. And then I remember Christy and Lee came back with some dudes. And Christy's like, "Molly, I got a miracle ticket." And I said, "Christy!" And she was the biggest deadhead out of all three of us. And it was absolutely appropriate for Christy to have the ticket. She got a miracle. These nice dudes had an extra ticket. And then Lee said, "All right, Christy's hooked up. She's going to hang out with these dudes." The show was starting soon. Lee was going to take off, so then that's when he took off. And these dudes said they were making sure I was okay because I was going to be by myself. But it wasn't that big of a deal because there was all sorts of people all around. And the cool thing about Soldier Field is I could hear the whole thing. And so they took off, and these dudes said, "We have a hotel room." All the hotels were booked out, and we were planning on sleeping in my car. And this dude said, "I have a hotel room. Are you listening? And we have a bunch of people that are going to be staying there. There's probably some room if you girls want to sleep on the floor." I mean, and we're like, "Yes, of course." Now, if my daughter had done that, I'd be like beside myself. But it turned out these were just really nice dudes. So I remember the only weird thing was, I remember listening to the show, and it was so awesome. And feeling really good for Christy because she got to see it. Catching all the vibes from the music, the show, the crowd, the energy exchange from serious energy workers, the Grateful Dead. And I was sitting there, and all of a sudden, this dude walked by, and he looked like a devil. He had like, I think he might have had something like this on. And I was like, whoa, that's a scary dude. And he walked by, and he was like, to me, and I'm like, am I tripping, or is he like really looking at me, that devil? And then he stared behind me, and I'm like, oh my fucking God. And then I got a little scared. And then like he laughed, and then like 5 minutes later, I'm like, that's Roger. All of a sudden I realized I knew that dude. The name Roger might mean something. It wasn't a devil, it was Roger, and he recognized me. But he was probably fucked up too. Then the show was over. I could hear it so perfectly. So I was totally thrilled. And Chrissy came back with those dudes. They told us the name of the hotel. We drove over there. We had no idea where Lee was. He was going to hook up with us in the morning. And we walk in, there's a ton of people in that hotel room. Those dudes never perved out. They never tried to get pervy with us. They literally were younger dudes in Emperor energy that said, hey, little birds, come under our wing. And they got the beds. There was all these random other people on the floor, and there was this little spot in the corner of the room, right by the air conditioner, where two girls could fit perfectly. And that's where Christy and I slept that night. Then the next morning, we went back to Soldier Field, picked up Lee. I believe we went and got breakfast, and we drove back to the Twin Cities. And it turns out that was the last Grateful Dead show before Jerry Garcia passed. And if I hadn't been spontaneous, if I hadn't gotten baptized in margaritas, I wouldn't have had the gas money, and I wouldn't have been able to go. Christy wouldn't have been able to see the show. Lee wouldn't have been able to have this memory of riding in a semi-truck and going to the show. We would have never met these totally cool dudes who made sure we were safe. Pretty fun experience. But like I said, if I heard my daughter did that, I'd have a heart attack. So I know I'm very, very lucky. I got some of that last energy blasted out all over Chicago. And it all started with getting a tray of drinks dumped on me. And I didn't get pissed off. San Diego might mean something. A whole bunch of people ascended in energy. And those dudes were totally generous. Every single one of them covered for their bros F up. This is my card for somebody who has anger issues and it gets real toxic. All right. Well, there's my story on how I got to hear the last Grateful Dead show. It's the only time I've been to Chicago. All I've seen of Chicago, I want to go to Chicago sometime. All I've seen of Chicago is the Married with Children fountain, Soldier Field parking lot. All day long, I arrived kind of in the dark or at, dawn. And the drive home, we immediately left the city. So I've never really experienced like one of the biggest cities next to the Twin Cities in the Midwest. The Midwest is best, darlings. Final picture message. I'm 50 years old and I graduated high school in 1993 from a public high school called Osseo Senior High that I transferred to the second half of my junior year in high school. I did 9th, 10th, and half of 11th grade at a Catholic school called Benilde St. Margaret's. My 40s were the worst years of my life. A lot of major things happened to me in my 40s. And now I'm 50. I have a lot of hope for my 50s. It's only up from now. By the power of that woodpecker and Jerry Garcia, the 50s are going to be the best. There's a message. Have a good day. Now, listen to the playlist. Let's listen to some Grateful Dead.